Well, it's a great advantage of having an office basically next door to Rogers. I get that kind of clear thinking all the time. It's very helpful. I'd like to do a little summary and a few editorial comments as I've been doing throughout this event. And let me begin again with the theme. The theme was about fulfilling the promise of the digital age. And we talked about what is that promise really throughout the last 2 days. And we got all kinds of insights about strategies for fulfillment. Started off great with the Governor General of Canada, a wonderful man who's been a real leader on this topic himself. Clay Shirky summarized the promise of the internet in 5 words. Do you remember that? Group action just got easier. Speaking of clear thinkers. Amazing discussion about social media and the public square and the commons, transformation of public value with Dana Boyd, Ron Diebert, Juliana Rodich from Ushahidi, Jonathan Zittrain. We've talked a lot about economic development. This is the new infrastructure for a new kind of economy in some ways. And we had a great panel of ministers. A lot of discussion about the cloud. I argued that the internet is becoming a computational platform. It's kind of like a computer that we're all programming. And we have this huge resource now at our fingertips, and that enables all kinds of new things. I mean, among other things, it means the world is becoming our software development department for each of our enterprises and in some ways for us individually. We had an amazing panel headed by David Tickle on the whole issue of skills, dealing with this bizarre dilemma that we have massive unemployment everywhere, pretty much in the developed world, and youth unemployment is much worse, but we're missing all kinds of key skills and capability that's required for the next round of economic activity. I don't know how to describe Larry King. He's sort of like an institution himself, and that was a great conversation. We talked about smart cities, opportunities to use technology to change everything from public safety, law enforcement, delivery of human services, education, economic development, opening up local government, even urban form. Talked about collaborative health, moving away from the industrial age model, again, where people with expertise and capability in products and services and newspapers and lectures and treatments and other standardized products and services, deliver those to passive recipients, to move towards a collaborative model where we each get to co-innovate our own personal wellness. Surprising, I got to tell you, a presentation from Tony Clement, who's one of the very top government leaders in Canada about open data. Delightfully surprising that there's real leadership coming on that issue. Big discussion today about innovation, about entrepreneurship, and overcoming the innovation challenge. Validity and reliability. Roger's talking about proving that something you should do is a good thing to do. I have some laws about that. One of them I call the Disraeli law. The law is really that we go and we collect all this data to try and prove something that's really unprovable. And it's really just to support a certain perspective that we feel in our gut. And Disraeli was a British parliamentarian. In the House of Commons, he said one day, the honourable member uses statistics as drunks use lampposts for support rather than illumination. And I think we do that a lot. Another one of my laws is, I call it the Bob Dylan law, which is you don't need a weatherman to know which way the wind blows. I mean, sometimes the weatherman is not going to tell you. You bring all this data, it's not going to help you. You need to use your intuition and creativity to know how to move forward. And my first law of proving business initiatives is that the probability of your analysis succeeding is directly proportional to the degree to which the CEO thought it was a good idea anyway. So we all need to, if your CEO thinks that information technology is about improving business processes to reduce headcount, then you have a much bigger problem than how do I present a compelling analysis. So we also had a bunch of great keynotes: Intel, Cisco, IBM, and Watson, MasterCard, Xerox, Microsoft. I've got to say, they pretty much showed some shocking restraint for the most part in terms of making sales pitches. And every one of them had a whole number of very helpful insights. And we've also, throughout the conversation, discussed all kinds of things, everything from our personal privacy to how the internet might enable us to have whole new models of solving global problems. The traditional state-based models, again, the state came out of the industrial age, are increasingly insufficient. So I'd like to just talk about a very big issue having to do with leadership. But before I do that, if you'll just bear with me, I'd like to try and step back for a sec, because Roger did this a bit as well, and take a broader historical perspective on what's happening today that might be helpful for you thinking about the promise. And the perspective does not go back to 1991 or 1982 or even the Great Recession. It goes back farther. When you think about it, hundreds of years ago, all around the world, we did have an economic system. It was an agrarian age, and the economy and the means of production, the political system, was called feudalism. And knowledge was tightly concentrated in tiny oligopolies of the church and the state. People didn't know about things. There was no sense of progress. You were born, you lived your life, and then you died. And then along comes Johannes Gutenberg with his great invention, the printing press. And over time, people began to acquire knowledge. And when they did, the institutions of feudal agrarian society appeared to different emerging classes. They appeared to be inadequate or failing or stalled or frozen. It didn't make sense for the church to be responsible for medicine. When people had knowledge, it didn't make sense for a bunch of kings and nobles to be running everything. So we saw the Protestant Reformation. Martin Luther called the printing press God's highest act of grace. We saw the creation of the corporation, of parliamentary democracy. We saw the rise of science and the university and the Industrial Revolution, and it was all good. And during this period, we really saw the creation of nation states as well. I mean, Italy wasn't a nation state till 150 years ago. And then, but all of this did come with a cost, and we're facing that cost today. We're feeling it in the world. Once again, we're all here discussing the fact that the technology genie is out of the bottle again. Only this time it's very different. The printing press gave us access to the written word. The internet gives us access to the intelligence contained in the crania of other people on a global basis. So this is not an information age. It's, as we've been discussing the last few days, it's an age of collaboration. It's an age of networking of human intelligence. And it's also an age of freedom. In my opening remarks, I said the arc of history is a positive one. And it's opening up the world and creating a freer world. It's ugly, it's difficult, it's cacophonous, it's disruptive, but the arc of history is a positive one. And when you look around the world today, you see this happening. Now, there has been a big debate on this question, the role of social media in achieving social change. And some people have argued that, well, actually, real social change only comes about through strong ties in society. And if there are 200 million people on Facebook causes and all they do is go like, that doesn't really change anything. And, I participated in this debate. Now, my point of view was all ties in society that are strong begin as weak ties, maybe with the exception of the relationship between a mother and her baby. That one's strong from the get-go, but even that one incubates for a while. But now, we have this platform that not only drops transaction and collaboration costs in business and in government, it drops the costs of collaboration in society, the costs of dissent, of rebellion, of social change, and of even insurrection. And this was a really good discussion. It was a great discussion, and then reality intervened and settled it, the argument. And reality had a bunch of names. First name was Tunisia. Then it had a name called Egypt, and then Bahrain, and then it had another dozen names. The Arab Spring was a very inspiring thing for many people around the world. Now, it wasn't caused by social media. It was caused by injustice. It wasn't created by social media. It was created by a new generation of young people that wanted hope and who didn't want to be treated as subjects anymore. But the media was the platform that enabled this to occur in ways that people don't really understand. During the Tunisian Revolution, snipers were shooting unarmed students in the streets. So the students took their mobile devices, they took pictures, triangulated the location of the snipers, they sent in friendly military units, because the military was broken, and that in turn, the military units came in and took out the snipers. You think that social media is about hooking up online? For these young people, it was a tool of self-defense. Up until 6 months ago in Syria, if you were injured in a demonstration on the street, an ambulance would pick you up, would take you to a hospital. You'd go in with a broken leg, and there was a reasonable chance that you would come out with a bullet in your head. So two young people in their 20s used Twitter to create an alternative healthcare system. You get injured, tweets go out, a car picks you up, takes you to a makeshift clinic, you get treated by medical people as opposed to executed. So the media has been at the heart of this fundamental transformation that's happening. Now, it is difficult because up until 2 years ago, all revolutions in human history pretty much had a leader. And when the old regime fell, there was a leadership that could take power. And whether that was the revolutions that transitioned from the agrarian feudal society to industrial capitalism, like the French Revolution, that was the American Revolution, the national democratic revolutions that happened across Latin America, where those are revolutions against a feudal nobility, where people said, no, we want to have our own country and we want to be free. And there have been all kinds of other revolutions subsequently, including, led by people like Mao Zedong and Che Guevara and so on. You can say what you like about them, but there was a leadership. Well, these wiki revolutions have happened so quickly that they leave a vacuum, and politics abhors a vacuum. And so all kinds of unsavory forces are there that can be extremists on the one hand, and the biggest threat is the old regime that can step back in and fill the vacuum. So a big challenge facing these people, not just in the Arab Spring, but people who organized around the Occupy movement and so on, is to start to create the institutions and organizations and to use the media to have discussions in the society that can lead to more secular and open and democratic thinking. So when we think about those of you in this room, from governments and from enterprises, how can you go about achieving a change like this within your organization, within your country? A change, as we've been discussing for the last 3 days, which is really about the transformation of every institution from an old industrial model to a networked model based on new principles of openness and collaboration and of sharing intellectual property, like L. Ed Edwards, rethinking how science is done, of integrity, of interdependence, the different sectors of society working together in radically new ways. Well, this is a new paradigm, and when you get a paradigm shift, you always get a crisis of leadership. These things cause confusion and dislocation and conflict and uncertainty, and they're nearly always received with coolness or worse, mockery, hostility. Vested interests fight against change, and leaders of old paradigms have great difficulty embracing the new. So how is your country, your organization, going to find leadership for this change? Well, as I said earlier, leadership can come from the top, but it's pretty rare. Leadership needs to come from everywhere, and it can increasingly come from everywhere. I mean, in our research over the years, we've documented stories of, in one case, a clerical secretary who was key in the transformation of a division of one of the biggest banks in the world. And she had what it took to be a leader. She willed it. So there's a new model of leadership emerging. It's not the old, Lee Iacocca or Jack Welch, create a vision and sell it down to the rest of the organization, the K-car. Peter Senge was right over 2 decades ago when he said, the person at the top can't learn for the organization as a whole anymore. Things are becoming too complicated. And so that means that leadership increasingly can come from anywhere, and it means that it's each of our personal opportunity. I just wanted to say, before I close, thank you very much to you. This has been enormously interesting for me. Yes, Danny, did you? A question. Okay. We can do questions. Yeah.
You have been a paragon of a lot of these things that are new that is going on. What are some of these traditional shackles that you talk about in terms of freedom that you've had to break away from to experience the wonders of the digital age? Please share with us.
Did you hear that question?
When the circle of proximity is not close enough, it's not real.
Okay, so if I can summarize it, it was a question, I guess, to me personally about just some of the difficulties that I've had to do to break away from the old paradigm and shackles to be able to, successfully advance these ideas and to learn. Is that pretty much? Okay, good. Well, some of you saw that video of Bell Northern Research. I came out of that just research so excited because we showed that when you use computers connected to networks, you had higher performance and you could be a better innovator, and it was a more fun way of working. And so I wrote a book about that in 1981, and I would go around and I would give speeches, and I got received with coolness or even mockery or hostility. And the main reason that everywhere I went, people said to me, this will not happen. And the main reason they said that this will not happen was, I don't know if you could guess, why would managers and professionals and regular people never use computers connected to networks to transform work? Yeah. Managers, professionals, and regular people will never learn to type. All these profundities about the reinvention of work and enterprises came down to the question of typing proficiency. So for the next few years, I became an evangelist for typing. I was a typing advocate. Typing is fun. You can learn to type. And over the years, I've been fortunate to be involved with a number of people who are great collaborators, and it's been one of the joys of being here at this event because, three of them are here. David Tickall, who chaired the skills panel yesterday, and I have been working together for 20 years. Anthony Williams, I've already mentioned, and Roger Martin. And I think collectively that little group has got a real sense of what it's like to be received with coolness when you introduce a new idea. So let me close by just giving you an analogy about the promise, if you like, of the digital age. And to do that, I was asked to do this because a couple of you I know have seen this before. But I gave a TED Talk in early July of this year, and I ended the talk with a video that I spoke to. And I'm going to do that right now because it's very pertinent for this conversation. If we could roll the video, please. So towards the end of macroeconomics, Anthony and I started wondering, what does this digital age, this age of network intelligence look like? And we'd studied humans and organizations. We went to nature. And fish come in schools, bees come in swarms, starlings over the moors of England come in something called a murmuration. And the murmuration refers to the murmuring of the wings of the birds. And scientists that have studied this say it has a function. It protects the birds from predators. In fact, in some of these videos, you can see a hawk trying to get at the birds, and the birds, through their collective strength, chase the hawk away. You can see it right now on the right side of this video. A fearsome predator being chased away by the collective power of the little birds. The murmuration warms the birds up for the night ahead, and there's an exchange of information. The scientists that have looked at this said they've never seen an accident. There's leadership all the time, but there's no one leader. It constantly changes. It's the collective leadership model that I kind of described to you. Now, is this some kind of fanciful analogy, or might you actually learn something from it? Well, this thing, when I began to look at it, it really functions according to the principles that I've been describing to you. It's a collaboration. There's a huge openness. There's an exchange of all kinds of information about speed, location, trajectory, danger. There are some principles that govern the activity, like don't bump into anybody else. If it goes this way, go that way with it, and so on. But there are no strict laws or rules. It's not a business process as we think of it. It has a great kind of interdependence. Somehow the birds function as if the interest of an individual bird is connected to the interests of the murmuration as a whole. And there's sort of a great integrity, if you like, that gives the birds this courage to take on a fearsome competitor. So bear with me here. What if, here's a hypothesis, what if we could connect ourselves on this planet through a vast network of glass and air, share a computer? Could we go beyond just exchanging information or even knowledge? Could we start to share our intelligence? Could we create some kind of collective intelligence, or perhaps some a kind of consciousness that extends beyond an individual or a work group or an enterprise or even a society? If we could do that, we could do some wonderful things. You know, I look at the Arab Spring today, and I see that this at play. During the Egyptian Revolution, people said Mubarak is too strong. His apparatus is too strong. The kids are going to give up. They'll go home. And, of course, we should have known that they wouldn't go home, because if they did, he would have hunted them down and he would have killed them. So when I look at this, I get a lot of hope that maybe this smaller world that our kids inherit might be a better one, and that this age, this digital age we've been discussing today, could be an age where the promise is fulfilled and where the peril is unrequited. Thank you very much, and I look forward to continuing.
Mesdames et messieurs, ladies and gentlemen, veuillez accueillir le secrétaire général de la World Information Technology and Services Alliance. Please welcome the Secretary General of the World Information Technology and Services Alliance, Dr. Jim Poisson.
Thank you very much. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to after 3 full days for the closing ceremony of the WCIT 212 Montreal. This time I'd like to introduce Chairman Koo to the stage, please. All right. Okay. I'd also like to invite the Honorable Dr. Maximus Janati Onkili, the Minister of Science and Technology and Innovation from the Government of Malaysia, to make a special presentation, please. Please welcome the Minister.
Thank you very much, Jim, and ladies and gentlemen, the leadership of WITSA, and all our colleagues and friends. Just really here, of course, the outgoing chairman in Tudanku. I'm just really on behalf of the government of Malaysia and the ICT industry of Malaysia, want to express our thanks and gratitude to the leadership and the council of WITSA for the trust and confidence that the organization has given to Malaysia and to the ICT industry in allowing Dr. Dan Koo to lead the movement over the last 4 years. We believe that the Dan Koo, together with the team, have made some useful contributions over the years, not only within WITSA itself. I'm fully aware there have been membership increased by 22% from 68 to 83 members over the period. I think there has been increase in operational efficiency of the organization, especially in its financial standing, as well as the opening of branches. So it's just to say thank you very much. Of course, we wish Mexico all the very best for the coming years as you spearhead the leadership of WITSA. Of course, Dan Koo, we also thank the WITSA for putting him in as, what do you call it, Chairman Emeritus, and that gives a platform for us in Malaysia to continue to contribute where may be required. We wish you the very best. Thank you for the association. We, as a government in Malaysia and the industry, we continue to support WITSA in whatever capacity we can do, either in policy making or in the expansion of the industry. Thank you very much, and all the best for the future.
Dan, would you please take the podium for introduction?
Thank you, Jim. Thank you, Honorable Minister. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. This moment has been 4 years in the making, because when I took over as chairman in 2008, we had changed the bylaws to limit constitutionally the consecutive number of terms that a chairman of WITSA shall hold office. And it is 2 terms of 2 years each. So I knew this was coming. And in that sense, it was good because I could prepare for this moment, knowing that in the end, what I wanted to do was to leave it better than I found it. In that regard, I want to appreciate all that has been done by our forefathers, people who have come before me to make what WITSA was when I found it. And then, in the 4 years that I've been given the opportunity to serve this global alliance, we've had the opportunity to also look from a functional point of view, how to make it better. From an emotional point of view, how to get members more connected, to put more skin in the game, to, in reality, make it a part of their own. But perhaps the most important part of all that was how to make sure the momentum was positive. So in that sense, then, I do want to appreciate some people. Most definitely, the teamwork was what made everything happen. In that regard, from the Malaysian side, I want to thank MOSTI, MDAC, PCOM. I want to thank the board of directors, so many men and women who have come together to provide the strength, the support, and truly the necessary brain power to make sure that this moment is what it is. More than anything else, I want to thank the Secretariat. And for that, I want to call out some people. Jim, can you please give him a round of applause? Anders, please, could you just stand up? And Anders in the hall. Anders? Well, a round of applause for Anders, please. Geraldine. Geraldine, are you in the hall? Please stand up. There are a host of other people who are not present, but I do want to put on record my appreciation. And I do want to thank the Canadian ITAC team, as well as the WCIT 2012 team, for your hospitality. It is a mammoth task, and you have done us proud. So the program was fantastic, and your hospitality was truly warm. A round of applause for our Canadian hosts, please. I do want to take this opportunity to also recognize the winning bid put forth by our Brazilian friends who shall host WCIT 2016. Roberto, please. '16 in Brasilia. Put that in your calendar. May, in fact. The month of May. So, I'm at this point reminded of a 60s song by the Byrds called Turn, Turn, Turn. If I may hum that. To everything, turn, turn, turn. There's a season for everything, a time for everything. A time to reap, a time to sow. A time to live, a time to die. A time to lead, a time to follow. And a time to get out of the way. So in that regard, it now leaves me the moving forward position. And before I introduce the new chairman of WITSA, I want to share with you something that he said after he was elected. He said, 4 times he said this, engagement and commitment. He said it 4 times, so I wouldn't say it 4 times, Santiago. You know, I was thinking about that, and I was thinking of an analogy for that. You're engaged like a chicken. The chicken is engaged because, you know, it's eggs, and then, you know, people take the eggs and eat them. But when it comes to commitment, truly it's the pig that is committed. But I thought, is that the right analogy? Because then I would have to call him a farmer. And truly that's not the case. Instead, I offer another analogy, and that of the Formula One race car. Now, if you're driving a car down the freeway, you are engaged because you have to pay attention. You have to make sure that you keep the family safe, etc. But when you're driving a Formula One car, man, you're committed. So in that regard, I want to introduce to you our new captain and the new Formula One driver, Mr. Santiago Gutierrez, the new chairman of WITSA. Please give him a warm welcome.
Bonjour, dames et messieurs. Thank you for staying with us for this closing ceremony. You are the real marathon runners, that's for sure. I am very glad that from this moment on, I am having the great honor of leading the most important ICT industry alliance in the world. It's short, it's easy to say it, but what a great accomplishment to be part, and for you to be part of the most important ICT industry organization in the whole world. Even though Dan already thanked the Canadian delegation, I want to also personally thank ITAC, the Canadian member of WITSA, that was the key responsible organization for putting together this World Congress, WCIT 2014. Thank you, ITAC. Thanks to the operational team that carried this effort. Thanks to Karna, Francois, Melanie, Isabel, Nathalie, Junive, and several people more whose names I don't know, but I'm sure that you worked a lot as well. Thank you very much. And obviously, my endorsement in thanking Jim, Anders, and Geraldine. I also want to acknowledge the great effort that some of the delegates from faraway countries had to go through to be at this World Congress. My admiration to them. ICT, as we all know, is at the heart of growth and development of every country in the world. It accounts for over 6.5% of the world's GDP and worth over $4.5 trillion USD. But most importantly, there is hardly a human activity that is not touched by ICT. Dan just sang something that we used to listen a lot, obviously not Dan, but myself, when it originally was, this song was originally launched back in the mid-60s. You're not that old, my friend. So you must have learned that from someone else. I lived through that, okay? And I'm going to follow on your lead regarding songs, all right? We are in Canada, so I cannot avoid to have in my mind McLuhan's powerful phrase, "The media is the message." It is so true that I'm going to use the lyrics of two songs from two rock bands to coin messages related to the powerful influence of ICT in today's world. The first lyrics are from a Canadian rock band, by the way. Very few people might remember them. Perhaps not in Canada. Perhaps in Canada you still have memory from them. And the band is 10 Years After. 10 Years After wrote a song in the late 60s by the name of "I'd Love to Change the World." A fragment of its lyrics goes like this, and I won't sing. "I'd love to change the world, but I don't know what to do. So I will leave it up to you." And it was complemented by a beautiful electrical guitar. 10 Years After challenged the listener with, "I leave it up to you." So I'll say, with some members, let us take the challenge and respond back. I'd love to change the world, and we know what to do. The power of ICT will help us to improve the world. We collectively, through the WITS Alliance, can certainly step up to this challenge. Can we step up to this challenge? Yes. The other lyrics are from the Rolling Stones. You can't always get what you want. But sometimes, if you try hard, you get what you need. So if we work hard as a great team, we will get what we need then. What the industry needs, what the world that we represent needs. I look forward to meet you in Guadalajara, Mexico. We will have to break some established models and paradigms. We will use virtualization to greatly enrich participation in WCIT 2014 from all over the world. We will bring youth to the center stage, really the center stage. Half of Mexico's population is 26 or younger. We will provide the platforms for unleashing the creativity of all participants, real participants, virtual participants in real time. And believe me, we will pursue for not only, speeches, keynotes, and so on and so forth, that obviously we will, but most importantly, we will look for specific action items and agreements that we can follow up on and build, a wonderful growth for ICT and pass on the flag to Brazil, Brasilia specifically. We are ICT, and we are famous, supposedly, for creativity. So we will use that, and we will be really very happy in welcoming you in Guadalajara, Mexico. Thank you very much.
Ladies and gentlemen, it gives me great pleasure to call upon the delegation from Mexico, led by Enrique Haro, the Chief of Staff of the ProMexico, and Jaime Martinez, the Secretary of Economic Development of the State of Jalisco. Please come up to the stage. Congratulations. Thank you.
Mr. Dan Ku, former chairman of WITSA. Santiago, new chairman of WITSA, and James Poisson, Secretary General. Dear colleagues and distinguished guests and members of the press, good afternoon, everybody. It's a great honor and pleasure to speak to you on behalf of the Mexican government. I would like to extend my gratitude to the people and government of Canada for hosting this World Congress on IT 2012. And I also would like to thank WITSA for the tireless effort and all the work done preparing this forum for this very relevant event that is key for the future of the humankind. Douglas Engelbart, who invented the mouse and hypertext, said that the digital revolution is far more significant than the invention of printing or even writing. I am not sure if it's that far, but I am sure that we are living a new age of innovation that brings a lot of new opportunities for those societies that are ready to catch the wave. As you well know, the global market is not the same as it used to be a decade ago. New patterns are gaining speed thanks to the more active participation of the emerging countries. Developed nations set the pace throughout the 20th century, but I am sure that in this new century, emerging economies will play a more prominent role. As a result, innovation has begun to flow from emerging economies to developed ones. In this regard, Mexico is becoming an important research and development hub in the Americas. There are over 200 R&D centers in Mexico now, both private and public. For example, DuPont has 7 R&D centers in the country with over 3,000 employees. GE has its GE IQ Center in Querétaro, which over 1,000 engineers developing aerospace and renewable energy technologies. Honeywell just opened its new mechanical engineering and testing lab in Mexicali. That is a world-class laboratory. Intel in Guadalajara, with over 600 engineers developing technologies more close to the IT sector. Over 40% of them are master or PhDs. That is significant. And this gives you an idea of the progress that Mexico as a country is getting. On the other side, Mexico also has had, throughout 2012, a relevant role in the global context. As you may remember, Mexico held the regional meeting for the World Economic Forum in Puerto Vallarta this year. And we also have had the opportunity to lead the G20 and B20 meetings this year as well. This is why we are very honored with the announcement of Guadalajara as the next venue for the World Congress on IT in 2014. We are delighted to have the opportunity to have you as guests and to show you why Mexico is becoming the sweet spot in the IT industry. We will do our best to achieve an outstanding event for all us. Also, we are very proud to know that my colleague, Santiago, is now the new chairman of WITSA, and I am sure that his passion will help accelerate the development of the industry in the world, because I know him and he is committed to innovation and he is committed to bringing good things for all of us. I also want to acknowledge the role that Mr. Dan Koo, chairman of the Alliance, has done throughout these years. He clearly has empowered the IT businesses around the world to success. As I mentioned, Mexico is achieving an important role in the industry, in the global context. This has been achieved through the human capital that Mexico is developing. Mexico graduates over 115,000 engineers every year, and today we have over 600 skilled engineers in Mexico in IT-related sectors. And that's why we believe the Mexican IT sector will keep growing, and this opportunity to host the next WCIT will help us accelerate the pace. Dear friends, the digital revolution is reshaping the present and will change the future as well, as Santiago mentioned. It is impacting positively the global economy and in all the sources of innovation. It is also opening new opportunities for countries that are ready to catch the wave, and we want to be ready to catch that wave. In this context, our country plays a prominent role as a leading economy in the years to come, and we also want to increase our position as a global supplier of IT services. That's why the Mexican government has decided to invest heavily throughout the last 10 years, and the current position of Mexico is no coincidence. The industry is the backbone of innovation and pillar of the most advanced industries, as you know, and that's why we believe we all hold the responsibility to make it happen. Finally, in order to carry the spirit of this forum and to share new ideas to boost our future, I am delighted to invite you to the World Congress on IT 2014 in Guadalajara, and we all will be very pleased to welcome you in 2014. Thank you very much. Muchas gracias.
Now I would like to invite the Canadian delegation, please, to come to the stage, if you will. I'm going to invite now David MacDonald to say a few words, a few remarks on the Canadian delegation behalf. David, please.
Thank you, Santiago, and congratulations on your election. It's a pleasure to be here. And at long last, we are bringing this conference to an end. I think we could all say that the content has been outstanding. The efforts on everybody's behalf to entertain us, engage us, and really give us a lot of knowledge about how our industry will change the world has been fantastic. For me, the conference could be summarized very quickly by really one scene that I thought was outstanding that happened yesterday. When you have somebody as famous as Larry King moderating a panel, and you have the inventor of TCP/IP on the panel, and they are both totally upstaged by a 23-year-old Kenyan who's writing games to improve social justice in the third world, it says it all for me. So to me, that's what this conference will be remembered for. So I hope you all enjoyed it as much as we did here in Canada. I'd like to thank the international delegates for coming a long way to our country. Hopefully you've enjoyed Montreal. We think it's one of the greatest cities in the world. I'd like to thank the team, Jim Witza, for your great support throughout the process. And I'd like to support all the team that worked organizing it. But I'd like to single one person out. That one person, I think, made a huge difference. And having been involved with the development of the strategy and winning the award to host with the WCIT in 2012 here in Montreal 4 years ago, I can tell you, without reservation, we would not be standing here if it were not for the efforts of one individual. And I'd like you, Francois Morin, to come over here so I can shake your hand personally. And I will tell you, Francois, if you could just stay here for 1 second, there's 3 words I'd like to leave you as parting with when you go home tonight. This man defines grace under pressure. Thank you very much. Thank you. Okay, so over to you, Mexico. Have a great time.
Now I'd like to invite the delegation from Mexico. Come on stage. gentlemen, the tradition with WITSA is we have a very special crystal. And that crystal has been passed to Mr. McDonald, and Mr. McDonald will then pass it on to Mr. Koo and Chairman Gutierrez, and then in turn they will pass it to Mexico, and this will be the official handoff from one country host to the other. So please proceed with the crystal presentation. On behalf of WITSA, thank you both. Congratulations to both. And we look forward to Guadalajara, Mexico in 2014. Thank you so much. Thank you.